Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of our weekly 2021 NASCAR Cup Series season here on NR2003. This week we are here at Sonoma Raceway. I am joined, of course, by Jay in the booth, getting ready for our third road course race already on the season and second alone in the last three races. Very excited for this one. We're running the old layout of Sonoma because that's all available. That's anywhere close to being new, and this is the newest one we could find, and it's 2013, almost a decade old, by the way. So there was an old configuration of the circuit I found from like the 1996 or 95 season, but it was even worse than this one. So it's going to be an interesting race here. Crashes are sometimes an issue with these AI, so we're very excited to bring this race out to you guys. Jay, of course, like I said, in the booth, and Jay, I mean, coming into this racetrack here at Sonoma, a very technical road course compared to some of the ones we go to usually on the schedule, so a very unique one compared to most road races that we have on the Cup Series schedule. What are you looking forward to here today the most?
I think I'm looking forward to just simply another road course race. I've always really started, or not always, I've really started to enjoy road course races for the Cup Series the last couple of years. In real life, Sonoma, of course, has been Martin Truex Jr.'s playground the last several years. The man dominates everything, and stage has also kind of ruined the strategy. But Sonoma is still a good track. It still provides good racing, and I believe this year in real life will be the first time we'll get to see them on this on the new carousel configuration. So that'll certainly be exciting and add in another factor to the race as well.
With that being said, the cars get rolling here from Sonoma Raceway. 60 laps here at this road course, and stage one will be 15 laps. So we end stage one when we hit lap 16. Stage two will end when we hit lap 31. Then we race it all the way to the end, as I actually saw the 9 car get into the back of the 22 a little bit there. That should not affect them really. It's just a tiny bit of damage there, but a little bit of an awkward moment with the AI as we're going to get ready to take this green flag. But Logano has won at a road course before. Kyle Larson has yet to win at a road course now as we get ready to take the green flag from Sonoma. Now, as sure enough, the green flag is out, and we are underway for 60 laps here at this fine technical road course here out in California now. Chase Elliott, definitely probably one of the favorites here coming into today's race. Jay, now as we look at him, we look at Martin Truex Jr. probably as being the big drivers to watch out for, I'm sure.
Yeah, certainly got to always look at Chase Elliott and definitely Martin Truex here at Sonoma. I also expect Larson to be pretty strong. He's certainly not a guy that I expect to be a favorite still, but I think he's just going to be strong no matter what in Hendrick equipment. And we've seen him take the pole here before. He did it once again in NR. He's just never gotten the result that he's like qualified for it here at Sonoma. But still, Chase Elliott, I think ultimately is the favorite here today.
Some side-by-side action here as they head down towards the S's. A very interesting playoff scenario coming into today's races. Larson, he opens up a bit of a gap there to Logano now as the lead is very important to have here. Keselowski right now 5 points above the cut line coming into today's event. And right now, of the guys kind of on the bubble, he is the best off right here. Daniel Suarez, he's 6 points above the cut line. He is not in the top 10 currently. Martin Truex Jr., of course, a lot of work to do for a guy like him at a track where he has had past success winning multiple times, even back to his Michael Waltrip racing days there, as you see Denny Hamlin make a pass just about on Blaney, still side by side. But Truex coming into this event 65 points above the cut line. Jay, I don't think either of us expected to be saying that at this point in the season for Martin Truex Jr. and Kyle Busch, who are both over 50 points below that cut line. So they, of course, have a lot of work to do, and both of these guys at least have won at this track in the past.
It's certainly not what we expected at all coming into the season, but what it has done is provided a bit of interesting, a bit more interesting playoff picture. Uh, we've let guys like Tyler Reddick be in the playoffs now. Daniel Suarez, who is in his team's first season, and also like Bubba Wallace, they're both in their first seasons with brand new teams, and they're both in the playoffs right now. While Martin Truex Jr. and Kyle Busch are outside looking in. So at this point, I certainly think that with the way that Kyle Busch has turned his season up, he might still be able to point his way in. But Truex has not really shown any form of consistency whatsoever so far.
And you see a side-by-side battle right now between Kyle and Reddick. Kyle does remain clear right there. DiBenedetto currently comes into this race. He is now outside of the playoffs. He's been in the playoffs for the majority of the season, but now is the first car out, 5 points below. Now, as the guys he has to beat, Suarez and Keselowski all running in front of him currently. So not the start he's at least looking for now as Kyle Larson opens up the gap here at the end of the second lap. He's already 7/10 of a second ahead of Joey Logano. Still, to our surprise, only one win on the season for the California driver. So at his home track, of course, here in Sonoma Raceway. But Larson won way back, what was it, Martinsville Speedway it was there when he overtook Chase Elliott in the closing laps, and then he's just had that same bad luck that he's had all season long come into effect. And I'm sure even at a road course, Jay, where it gets more spread out, I'm sure that team's going to somehow still find a way to throw it.
Always is. It just seems like that's going to happen every single time this season. It's just, Kyle Larson has run into so much bad luck, both in NR and real life. It's kind of ridiculous. I don't know what it is about him and bad luck, but it just seems to continue no matter where his name is mentioned. And unfortunately for Larson, it's just he could have, I think, at least 4 wins, if not 5 wins, to this point in the season, and he's only got 1, I believe, maybe 2. So just needs to find a way to finish these races out.
And we'll see if he can pull that off here today at Sonoma, looking for his first career win on a road course now. So it'll be interesting to see if Larson can pull that off here today. To see the rest of the pack down here, some Rick Ware racing cars and the colleague car right there of Kaz Gralla making a move up the inside of Ty Dillon now. But the interesting thing to watch today is going to really be the pit lane. I think now is when I was doing testing, I was seeing a few incidents kind of spark up here and there on the exit of the pit lane when a car would be pitting. They would come out in front of slower traffic and cause a big collision. So that's something that we're going to have to watch out here today from Sonoma now. But in stage 1 and 2, they should not have to pit under green flag conditions. They should be good until the end. So they will be just straight up racing here for 15 laps now. So Jay, not a whole lot of strategy in these first 2 stages at least, but in that third and final stage, it's 30 laps. So that's guaranteed 1 pit stop at the minimum. So if it stays green, we'll have that green flag pit stop. I mean, what are you looking at here today? I mean, could you maybe get away with just taking fuel only on a pit stop late in this race, or maybe do you have to take tires still?
I think it depends on how far you can go, honestly. We don't really know how far these drivers can go. So if they can go 25 laps before they need to pit, then sure, I think you try and take fuel only. Might as well try it for maybe somebody like Kyle Busch or Truex, who are already so far down that another bad finish, whatever, they need to focus on wins at this point. But I certainly have to think, if you can only go 20 laps or so, I certainly have to think you would have to get 4 tires. Tires do mean a lot here at Sonoma. We've seen the strategy kind of play out kind of funky in real life, and that's part of what has led to Truex getting at least one of his wins here. So tires do certainly mean something here. And I think if you have to go any more than 5 laps, you have to consider getting 4 tires.
And it looks like Alex Bowman putting a little bit of pressure here on the back of the 99 Trackhouse driver of Daniel Suarez right now. Bowman in a very awful position in the point standings right now. Every Hendrick Motorsports driver other than him and Elliott have picked up a victory, but of course Elliott is doing great in the points. Bowman not so much. He is currently 76 points below the cut line, and I wouldn't say fully a must-win situation yet, but at the same time, we look at how this team is running consistently right now, not even in stage points. I think that we can already kind of consider them in a must-win situation.
They seem like they've been in a must situation since around Martinsville, really. They got behind the ball early, and they have not picked it up at all. We have not seen any kind of speed out of him on a week-to-week basis. It's, if he has speed, it's for one race or it's for one stage, and that's about it. And then he falls out and goes back down to running in maybe the top 15, somewhere in the 20s as well, usually. So he's struggled heavily this season, and I think at this point it's been win or nothing for Bowman for quite a while now.
And some struggles here currently for last week's winner. Bubba Wallace picked up his first career win at the Coca-Cola 600. Got that first win, of course, for 2311 Racing, owned by Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan. Currently, right now, Bubba running all the way down there in P27. So not a good run currently for them, but I mean, obviously it doesn't matter anymore. They are locked into the playoffs with that win. We got Austin Cindric in the field once again here today, a road course ringer, very well known for being really good at these road courses. He's not running the greatest right now, actually outside of the top 20 there in P23. But then we got Christopher Bell running in 22nd place, and he comes into this race 57 points below the cut line, and not, of course, helping his case at all when he runs down here outside of the top 20, just like his teammate Kyle Busch. in P20 to be exact now. So these guys right now, Jay, that need the points so far here today, none of them are up in the points whatsoever. So clearly, no one really doing what they need to be doing, other than maybe Martin Truex Jr., of course, who is up inside the top 10, but 3 points at this point when he's 76 or what? Sorry, 65 below the cut line. 3 points isn't going to help him a lot right now.
Any little bit does help, yeah, but yeah, I think you certainly have to be looking larger than just getting a eighth place finish in a stage. I think you have to be looking at least top five, if not going for the win in this stage. And I think at that point, top five is certainly not out of the question, but a win in this stage is definitely out of the question. But yeah, like you mentioned, there are not a lot of guys helping themselves right now by being inside the top 10. It's really pretty much it's all the playoff drivers right now inside the top 10 and guys who don't need help. So we're seeing the class of the field this season. They are so far the class of the field today at Sonoma.
And already, almost halfway through this first and opening stage, now fastest lap on the board is not from Kyle Larson. He's got the second fastest lap. The fastest car on the track was Brad Keselowski. So interesting to see him put down a 1 minute 16.3 second lap. As it looks like it might be running down that 9 car of Chase Elliott, who has the fourth fastest lap currently. Logano with the fifth fastest time on the board right now as Larson continues to lead the way. But Jay, we look at this upcoming schedule next week is actually kind of a quote unquote off week for us. We don't have a points race. It is the All Star event. So I'm sure both of us are looking forward to that. Of course, one downside of it is that it is Texas. So it's going to be interesting to say the least, but I think we're both looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think it's a downside, certainly more for real life. Obviously, in our mile and a halves are usually pretty interesting, and I'm pretty sure Texas is also still pretty interesting. So I'm looking forward to it. I think we'll also try some way to implement the real life, the way the stages are and all that kind of stuff, the format. So we'll try some way to have that happen and try and make it a fun race. I certainly think that the racing will be better on NR than it is in real life. I mean, it's not hard to be better than the racing is in real life at Texas. That track is bad and needs to go. But I think for an all-star race with an interesting format, it'll be exciting. I think on NR, and then it'll at least uh, be interesting for the real life race.
A very calm race so far here from Sonoma now, as I'm sure it'll pick up once these cautions start happening from the stages. But of course, we'll be doing for the Texas race weekend, like Jay mentioned, we'll be doing it as close to the format as we can. Of course, we can't like do inverting of the field, I don't think, and whatnot. So we aren't going to be able to bring in those elements, but we'll try and get the stages the same and whatnot, or the segments, whatever they're calling it. And then we'll have our own open as well, where we have the AI try to race their way in. Now, I don't know how we can do some type of fan vote, so that'll be interesting. Maybe we'll just instead kind of do a random name chooser to do the fan vote, quote unquote. Something like that might be the idea. But after Texas, then we go to a brand new track here on the Cup Series schedule, and that is Nashville Super Speedway. Jay, I've personally never seen a race at that track at all in my life, so I'm not really sure what to expect there. But from what I have seen, just with some YouTube clips, it does look like I think it is going to bring us a pretty cool race here on NR.
Yeah, I've never seen a race there either, so I'm not sure what to expect as well. But I do think it'll be a decent race. Still, I think Nashville always produced decent races and good races when NASCAR went there. So I am excited to go to that track again, and honestly, I'm just excited for the variation of tracks that we have this season, and to have another different track on the schedule. It was getting a bit monotonous there for a while, with just the same cookie cutter mile and a halves, and going to some of these tracks that were kind of boring twice a season and all that kind of stuff. So it's nice to have some variety in the season. Even if the races don't turn out to be exceptional, it's still nice to have some new tracks on the schedule and different types of tracks.
And speaking of tracks that we go to twice a season, right after Nashville, we go to Pocono for the double header. So we'll be doing one episode probably on the Saturday, and then the next episode on the following Sunday. And Jay, that's probably, I think we can both agree, going to be probably the most boring week of NR for us now, as we both passionately dislike that track. I don't know what the racing is going to be like on NR 2003, but I know we both dislike that racetrack, and can't say we're fully looking forward to that one.
Unfortunately, I am pretty sure the racing at Pocono on NR is a lot like the racing at Pocono in real life.
Lovely.
It's not the greatest, and it's not the most exciting. So yeah, that should be a week of not the most interesting racing, or it might be entirely possible that I am very wrong. I haven't raced at Pocono on NR in at least a year or so. So for all I know, somebody's made a new and updated version of it that has multiple lines that could work and all that kind of stuff. So we can play around with it too and try and play around with Pocono and make the files different for the drivers where they do race two lines and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm not expecting those races to be the most exciting in the world. But at least we'll get both Pocono races out of the way in one weekend.
That is the positive of the Pocono doubleheaders. We get it done and over within one weekend instead of having to go back there barely over a month later. So honestly, it kind of makes sense putting them back to back because they were already so close together. Now, as that was the closest gap between like a track that goes to or NASCAR goes to twice now. As after Pocono, though, we got another road course, another new track actually to the Cup Series schedule at least, and that's Road America, where we see the Xfinity Series has already raced there for multiple years. And then we go to Atlanta Motor Speedway again. Jay, last time we were in Atlanta, we had some big incidents there. Eric Almirola caused a couple crashes when he was trying to pit both times, so I think that based off of what I'm seeing on the schedule, is the first kind of wild card race again where we could potentially see another surprise winner that just manages to stay out of trouble.
Yeah, mile and a halfs are very, very fun on NR, especially with the package that we have in these cars. So I'm certainly looking forward to Atlanta again. And again with the file thing, maybe we can play around with that and change how the AI get to pit road, and we can not have that be an issue anymore. But yeah, I think I agree with you there that that is another wild card race, and certainly a race that you have to circle on the schedule that, other than Kyle Larson, really anyone can win there. I mean, we've seen Larson dominate. As I just realized, that truck is
Yeah,
floating
that's
in
I
the
was
air.
focusing on that on purpose.
Whoever put that truck there, I think it's hanging by a crane. I think that's what it's supposed to be, and I don't know if I trust that. But back to Atlanta, I'm certainly looking forward to that race. And I think the immediate favorite, again, is Kyle Larson. Even a month out, I think I can comfortably say that.
And he's pretty much a favorite everywhere we go right now. And I mean, sure enough, on board with Kyle Larson right now as he continues to lead the way. With coming to only 3 laps to go, by the way, here in stage one, running out of time very, very quick now as he goes through the S's portion. There you see that truck right there. I don't know what's going on right there as we, well, get one more look at it as he goes by. I don't know how that's possible, but there's just a Ford F-150 currently up in the sky here from Sonoma. So, but after Atlanta Motor Speedway, just looking through the rest of the regular season, there's not much after that. We go to New Hampshire in July. That one probably I would expect to be a pretty tame race. And then we go to Watkins Glen, yet another road course, one of my favorite road courses to go to for NASCAR. And then we go back-to-back road course racing. Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course that replaces the Brickyard 400 at the Indianapolis Oval. So excited for that one as well. And then we go to Michigan. And then after that's the big one, the regular season finale at Daytona International Speedway. And Jay, that'll be as well the first time we get to go to Daytona with the legitimate physics that we're using with these cars now, the Truck Series physics, because when we originally did our Daytona 500, we had just a normal Cup Series physics. Didn't make for a great race. So I think based off of what we had in Talladega, I'm sure we're in store for an epic regular season finale when we get there to Daytona.
That's the race remain. That's the one race remaining this season that I am looking the most forward to. I think that race is going to be extremely exciting. It'll be nice to have these physics in for that race, so that way we actually get a grouped up big pack like we had at Talladega. And it's also just going to be the cutoff race. I think a regular season cutoff race at Daytona, I don't. I wouldn't consider it to be the most practical thing, but it's certainly going to be very interesting and very exciting. And I cannot wait for it. Hopefully, we have a close points battle going into that race.
Hopefully so. Right now, there's quite the separation with points now. It is closer on that bubble than it has been throughout the majority of the season, with currently, 15th, 16th through 17th. They're all only separated by 5 points. But then the next guy of Kyle Busch in 18th is 50 points below that cut line. And as he runs right now here, he hasn't really made up much ground. I'm sure he's going to lose points again today unless they get some strategy going and whatnot. As he currently does try to make a pass here on Ryan Newman. 2 laps to go, by the way, in this first and opening stage. Been clean the whole way through. I'm sure we're going to see an incident at some point now here, but hopefully they keep it relatively clean throughout the most of this race now, as it's been a very calm race so far, and we've seen when we've had calm stage 1s that it usually leads to a chaotic stage 2 or stage 3, so a little bit concerning on that viewpoint now as Kyle Larson continues to lead the way coming to the final lap of the stage. But Jay, I mean, Kyle Larson, he's thrown, not only in real life, but in our NR2003 series, he's thrown a lot of wins away, but he has still been winning stages and racking up a good chunk of playoff points. So even without those wins, this guy is going to still have a lot of playoff points to bank on when we get to the playoffs later this year.
Yeah, when you have a guy dominating virtually every single stage 1 and stage 2 of the season so far, even though he's not getting the wins he's looking for, those playoff points are just going to be, he's going to have a huge amount of them. And kind of like we've seen in a couple years where we have at least 1 or 2 guys like Kevin Harvick or Martin Truex in the past, where they're virtually locked into the final round as soon as the playoffs start, just because of how many playoff points they have. And I certainly think Larson's starting to eclipse that total at this point. He's got a ton of them, I know. I don't know the exact amount, but I know that there is a bunch of playoff points for Kyle Larson, and I'm sure the next person behind him has nowhere near what he has.
I still have yet to officially do the playoff point count. I need to get on top of that so I don't have to add them all up at the end of the regular season, because then I'll have to go through 26 different videos to get that figured out. So I'm going to try and get on top of that here with hopefully in the next week or so, so we have an accurate count of the current playoff point situation as well, to get some ideas of what guys are looking like going towards the playoffs, as we're getting closer and closer, of course, to the playoffs. Kyle Larson, though, actually, I need to get the yellow command in as soon as possible, as I think I got it in time as he rounds the final corner, comes through to cross the start-finish line, and sure enough, the pace car is out. So yes, Kyle Larson wins stage 1 and picks up yet another playoff point. Dominating fashion there from Kyle Larson here to open up this race, but still a long way to go. So pit lane, Jay, we know is going to be huge, as well as I think that track position at this track so far is really, really big. So if Kyle Larson loses the lead on the pit lane, I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of gets stuck where he's at.
Yeah, I fully expected Chase Elliott to go up there and take the lead of the start of this race, and it never really happened. Larson didn't pull a huge gap away either, so that kind of tells me that he doesn't necessarily have the best car in the field. It's just, kind of hard for others to maintain behind him in dirty air. And then also just kind of hard for anybody to pass. Chase Elliott kind of hung with Logano that entire stage, never really lost sight of his back bumper. So that tells me I think that Chase Elliott's also better than Logano. And, maybe we got to look here for pit strategy or a bad pit stop for somebody to get around somebody. And, it might be the only time we get to see that happen this race.
And there you see Denny Hamlin. He got 10th place, the final stage point. There's Blaney. Truex the only one below the cut line getting stage points actually now. As we are going to go for a very, very quick break before they come to the pit lane. We'll be back in like 25 seconds. So we'll get ready, though, to get going for the second stage here as Kyle Larson wins stage 1. Back from Sonoma Raceway, getting ready to come into the pit lane. Kyle Larson, your stage winner, leading the race onto the pit road here. So, Jay, I think a very easy call. Just fill it up. 4 tires. I mean, I'm sure that's a no-brainer for every single team here.
Yeah, there's really no strategy to this pit stop at all. I think the one thing we have to look for is Logano to maybe fix that damage that he got there right at the start of this race. I don't know if it's necessarily affecting the performance of that car, so his team may just kind of leave it alone. But if they feel that it's performance affecting, watch for them to fix that damage here.
And here comes Kyle Larson. Now he's going to, of course, have a great pit stall. So he's got that advantage of being right up front here. I mean, he's qualified up front pretty much every race this season as well. So he's had that pit stop advantage, except it actually hurt him a lot in the Coca-Cola 600 with the wacky pit lane, and that ended up being the reason he didn't have a chance to really be in the mix for the win. So that was very unfortunate for Larson. He had pit stall number 2 in the last race, I believe it was, or pit stall number 3, I think, 2 or 3, but here he is with pit stall number 2 here from Sonoma. So actually, he's going to easily win the race off the pit lane. And it looks like Elliott's going to lose a good chunk of track position. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 positions right there. He just lost. So just like that, Chase Elliott's got a lot of work to do going into this second stage now. As Jay, that you can't, with a top tier team, with a guy that's capable of winning road courses, but when it's hard to pass today, you cannot be making those mistakes as a pit crew.
You certainly cannot afford to make those mistakes at all, especially at a track that is as hard to pass as this track is. I have to think though that he's the one who ran into Logano. I believe he's the one who ran into
He
Logano as
is.
this race was about to begin. So highly possible that they were fixing a little bit of damage on the front end there. Maybe he had a hole punched in, they needed to put some tape over or something like that. And that didn't look like a slow stop to me. That looked like they were fixing some kind of damage with the how long he actually sat there. So I have to think there was some kind of damage fixed on that pit stop, and that's why he lost positions. But still, just something you cannot afford to do here at all.
And they are going green this time, so the pace car turns the lights out right away. So we're not going to go to break now. We're just going to get ready here. There's a bit of a stack up there from Joey Logano now. You see that damage on the back of his car hasn't really affected him much, but now, I mean, you look at the top 5. You got Eric Almirola once again having a good run, but Truex had a bit of a gain. Now he gets up to a P6. So he's gaining a few positions there under the pit stop. That's going to, of course, help him at what we've already mentioned, track that's very track position heavy here so far now. But Jay, I mean, there's always the potential for it to get crazy here. We've seen what the AI is capable of in some testing and just a couple failed attempts. So we know that it is definitely a big possibility we have some chaos just ensue right here on this restart.
The one positive is that these guys are going to be restarting single file, so I think we'll be all right up front. But where I think we have to watch for some chaos to happen is towards the back of this field. Highly possible that these guys get double file and maybe even 3 wide by the time they're coming around to take the green again at the start finish line. So really got to look out for the back of the field here to have some kind of chaos happen. And I think this is certainly, if there's going to be any point where cautions start happening, it's going to be right here.
There you have the view of the Ford F-150 Sky Cam or Crane Cam, we're going to call it here today. Now, as I'm still baffled as to why that thing is up there, but nonetheless, we're getting ready to go green here for the start of this second stage with Kyle Larson leading the way now with a damaged back bumper potentially now as Logano ran into the back of him. Actually, no, Larson's bumper's okay. So as Logano, he's really, I don't know what it is with the 22, but he has really been checking up here in this race so far before we go green. But so far, I see some double file going on in the background, so that could be a potential issue. It looks like they get it sorted out in time, thank goodness now, as Kyle Larson, though, leads the field back to the green flag here for the start of the second stage. I mean, now we got Eric Almirola blowing up. That's the point leader. Oh, his teammate just ran into the back of him. Austin Dillon gets a piece of it. A big incident right there for the Stewart-Haas driver and duo, as they still have to race it back, by the way, so the chaos is not over. A bunch of damage on Austin Dillon. I mentioned he got collected in that now as I see some smoke pouring out of his car. But Jay, I mean, what a big moment that was for the point leader. It looked like, I mean, nothing Briscoe could do as Almirola was right in the racing line.
That was the most unfortunate timing ever. I think they would have been actually pretty clean, which is not what I was expecting. And then, unfortunately, Almirola had his engine expire right as he got back going. Maybe he missed a shift or something and blew his engine up. And of course, you know, when he's sitting right in the middle of the track as they're going into a slight turn, you can't really see him until you get there. And unfortunate for Briscoe that he was, you know, right there and Almirola behind Almirola and slammed into him. And then Austin Dillon getting that damage too. Looks like his day is also done. So just extremely unfortunate timing there. I think they would have been clean had that not happened to Almirola.
And Larson leading the way. It'll be interesting to see if they pit here under caution. I don't think they will, but there you see the 10 and 14. They're done for. Pace car comes out. Austin Dillon still trying to get around the track. A lot of damage there on that 3 car as they race it down through these final corners in the back of the pack. But yeah, it was looking clean there. And then Almirola just blows up. My guess, too, would be a missed shift or something. But Larson leads the way as they come back to the pace car. So a very chaotic start, like we had mentioned the possibility of happening or having a chaotic start. Well, sure enough, we get it now. Probably not in the way we thought it was going to happen as Austin Dillon brings it in. Likely going to be the end of his race as well as you see the smoke pouring out. So we are going to get a quick look at that incident one more time before we see if these guys come into the pit lane here. So let's see what happened between the 10 and the 14 as well as the 3 of Austin Dillon. Here's a look at Eric Almirola on the restart here, I mean, our guess is he just missed a shift because you can see right here, they get going. He should be upshifting right about there, and that's where the engine goes. Jay can't hear the audio, but I can, and that was right where the upshift was. And then the 14, he just plows right into the back there, and then Austin Dillon gets collected. And surprisingly, those were the only 3 cars involved now, as it looked like there was the potential for quite a few cars to get involved. Another look at the slow-mo Jay. It looks like right here, the 10 actually fakes out a move as he was trying to maybe get out of the way, and then he kind of hesitated, and that might have led to the 14 getting into him.
Yeah, he might have been thinking he wanted to get out of the way, and he went to try and do it, and then kind of saw that the 14 was there where he was going, and unfortunately, nothing either one could do. I think Almirola could have moved over sooner, but obviously he just kind of needed to stay where he was and let the drivers figure out a way to get behind him. And then, unfortunately, as soon as he went to move, Briscoe was there, and now both of them look like their day is done. So then with all this happening, obviously Austin Dillon's going into it. He can't really see through the smoke, and then Almirola just happens to be spinning right in the slightest bit into traffic, and unfortunately clips Austin Dillon hard enough to where he loses the right front fender, and seems like his engine is also expired. So 3 cars, looks like they're done for the day after that incident.
Now back to the live scene, getting ready to go green here. So the majority of these guys stayed out, except for a few drivers who came in, and that was the number 42 of Ross Chastain and the 41 of Cole Custer. Both drivers, by the way, have a win this season, and both lucked into those wins, actually. Custer, back in Homestead, Miami, stayed out of trouble to pick up his win at the last moment, and then Chastain was able to win at Talladega Super Speedway in that wild race. So getting ready to go back green, and this is only going to leave us 10 laps to go here in stage 2. And Jay, I mean, could we expect more of what we just saw? I mean, I think it was an uncharacteristic mistake there from Eric Almirola to blow his engine on the upshift, but I mean, it gets off to that chaotic start that we mentioned, so this could very well lead us into just a whole stretch of chaos.
Yeah, we were lucky there with everybody kind of settling things out and figuring everything out and being clean by the time the restart was ready to go. And then Almirola has that happen to him. So I think that we would have gotten lucky that time. I don't know if we're going to get lucky this time around. It's highly possible that that caution is going to now create a lot more chaos, and we'll keep having wrecks like that happen on the restart here. It's kind of what I come to expect from this track at this point.
I see a little bit of that double file going on again. So Kyle Larson leads the way back to the green flag. Daniel Suarez now, by the way, currently in that last spot for stage points. So we're going to keep an eye on this part of the field because this is going to be where it gets interesting. I see a little bit of contact between Suarez and Hamlin right here. They're keeping it clean for the most part. Yes, they are. That's what we like to see as they come through into these first couple corners now. So actually, they did a pretty superb job right there as Larson continues to lead the way here at the back of the pack, keeping it clean still. So fortunately, they seem to be pretty good. I did see some bits of contact, especially Suarez that got into Denny Hamlin, but it all ended up working out here. Thank goodness now. So we're off to a clean start. Bubba Wallace goes a little bit wide along with Ryan Newman here as we're going to see some moves now. The 17 actually going to be 3 wide. Oh, there's some contact right there. Not very often we see some 3 wide. It's been mostly single file here today from Sonoma Raceway, but at the back here, or not at the back, but in the midfield, Kyle Busch side by side with Christopher Bell. Now, as Jay, I don't think we expect to see 2 Joe Gibbs Racing teammates fighting it out currently for about 18th and 19th.
Yeah, you can add in technically a 3rd Joe Gibbs car right there with Bubba Wallace as well, our winner last week. He's just kind of struggled so far today, and a lot like Kyle Busch has as well, and both Christopher Bell. But like you mentioned earlier, luckily for Bubba, he's locked in, so the points don't really matter at this point. He can just kind of run wherever he wants to run at this point, and his team can kind of do whatever they want. They can try some different things, try some strategy out, see what happens. If nothing happens, then that's fine. They still got that win to rely on. But yeah, Kyle Busch, I think he really needs to try and turn it up here and find his way to, forward in this race, because if he doesn't, he's going to be looking at a worse situation than what he came in here with, and Kyle Busch does not need to have that. He needs to stop losing points and start gaining them.
Chase Elliott there had that rough pit stop. Could have potentially been fixing that front end after the gun to the back of Logano on the initial start, so he's got some work to do, and he's going to probably need a pit stop to help him kind of now. But, I mean, Jay, we're looking at right now the playoff picture. I mean, we currently only have 1, 2, 3, 4. There's only 5 positions left on points, which is actually pretty similar to what we're seeing in real life as well. So only 5 spots left on points, and we have some new tracks like Road America, Nashville coming up, the Indianapolis road course. So there is some potential, and of course Daytona as a regular season finale. There's some serious potential for still some new surprise winners right here, and we could see guys like Tyler Reddick, who's currently in by 30 points, just get eliminated solely off of the fact that we've had maybe some more surprise winners and he couldn't get that win.
We've also got several drivers outside of the playoffs right now who are race-winning capable drivers, like Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Alex Bowman, even Austin Dillon I would consider to be a potential race winner. Christopher Bell has the possibility of winning a race. Even Matt DiBenedetto does too. So really everybody there from 17th on back to about 20th or 21st place, they're all race-winning capable cars. And so we can have anything happen between now and the start of the playoffs to where we have somebody like Tyler Reddick, who's locked in right now on points and by a pretty good margin as well. Let's say he doesn't get a win and those 4 guys below him do, then all of a sudden Tyler Reddick is out of the playoffs when he's been in it all season long and looked really strong.
There's a move from the 48 of Alex Bowman. He makes it side by side with Chris Buescher now, as that is a battle for 12th place, but Buescher already holds him off. Bowman slowly trying to move his way up towards the front now, as Buescher, he's really relied on staying out of trouble to get him in the mix of all of these races, but when we come to a road course, it's going to be hard for him to rely on that, but at the same time, who knows how the rest of this race is going to go now, as Kyle Larson, once again, continuing to drive away. He does now have the fastest lap of anybody, by the way. A little bit of back end damage there on Kevin Harvick's car, but Harvick having a solid race so far here from Sonoma Raceway. Elliott's still stuck behind the 19 of Truex, showing just how important the track position is going to be here today from Sonoma Raceway now. So only 7 laps to go in stage 2. Larson already almost a second and a half up, so it's definitely, I think the only chance these guys have is on the pit lane. But what I'm noticing here is Cole Custer significantly off the pace, and I'm not sure what's going on there. Him, the 51 of Cody Ware, and the 42 of Chastain, they're all 40 plus seconds behind, so it's almost like they came in and did an extra pit stop while we weren't paying attention or something. So and they had just came in under the last caution, so a bit of a weird scenario going on there now, as Larson continues to lead the way there, as you see the top 5 on your screen. So road course racing, Jay, as we know, going to be a very heavily kind of featured type of racetrack on the Cup Series schedule for seasons to come. This year we have 8 road courses on the schedule. Next year we might have even more, with 9, maybe even 10, with a potential street course in the mix. But we also have that next gen car, and one of the biggest focuses on how good that next gen car is going to be for road racing. So do you think that NASCAR almost kind of kept road racing as a focus for this next gen car, making sure that we could have such good races here?
They certainly did, yeah. They mentioned that they have this car designed to handle road courses a lot better than the current Gen 6 is. So that's certainly going to be exciting that they're going to be able to handle these road courses better. There's obviously the bigger brakes, and obviously the way the car handles is going to be different as well on road courses. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't think NASCAR needs to look at adding too many road courses. I think the balance that we have of road courses now is pretty good. I would only add maybe 1, 2 at the max to the schedule at this point. I don't think we need to start going road course heavy, but it is certainly nice to see that we have more than just the typical 2 we used to have, or 3. So it's nice to have a very good variation of road courses. I hope this stays for a while, and I also would not be I would not complain if NASCAR wanted to just change road courses around every year. Like, we don't go to the same 7 road courses. We go to, we have like 3 that we go to every year, and then the other 4 change from year to year. So I think that's something that NASCAR should look at as well. I don't know if tracks would go for that. I don't think they would lock themselves in to something where they're not getting a race every single year. But if a track is open to that, I think that'd be kind of interesting to see some tracks kind of rotate the years that they're on the schedule. But I do look forward to how the next gen drives on the road courses.
And I mean, we think about different road courses that we could go to. I mean, that's one of the cool things, is there's a lot of road courses that NASCAR doesn't go to that are available just in the USA, North America alone. I mean, you think about Laguna Seca could potentially hold a NASCAR race at some point. They could go up to Canada, do Montreal or Canadian Tire Motorsports Park up by Toronto. But I mean, Jay, overall, there is a lot of potential road courses that NASCAR could go to. So, I mean, we could really shuffle that schedule with the road courses around. Or, I mean, do you think NASCAR might just, I mean, we have our preference of how many there should be on the schedule, but do you think NASCAR might push even further and try to get maybe 14, 15 road courses at some point on the schedule?
I don't think they'll go that far. I don't think that they'll look at getting that many road courses on the schedule. I think they probably cap out at 10, honestly. I don't think they want to have almost half their schedule be road courses. That's not what NASCAR is. I'm not trying to sound like a boomer and say they shouldn't go to road courses. They definitely should, but I don't think they should have almost half their schedule be road courses. That's a little bit too much. You still want to see these guys race on like short tracks and mile and a halves and ovals, just ovals in general. So I still want to see them only keep it maybe at 10 road courses. Another possibility too is if that car is gonna be able to race on more variations of road courses and different kind of road courses and stuff like that. The one thing that NASCAR could look at is doing double headers with IndyCar, and then maybe if you do a double header with IndyCar, the track will be willing to only have them for a year deal or so. So that way they're not really putting any extra money to an extra weekend. They're just already getting a series when they were planning to have IndyCar there. So we could see them maybe go to like St. Petersburg. We could maybe see them go to the streets of Detroit or Toronto or stuff like that. So I think that would be really cool to see NASCAR try and do some doubleheader stuff with IndyCar as well.
A Toronto street circuit would be awesome. Of course, you know for a fact I'd be going to that right away. So hopefully one day that does happen. The Canadian NASCAR series, of course, already races in the streets of Toronto now, and it'd just be a very cool little addition to the schedule. Now, as I mean, Jay, I mean, we look at just NASCAR expanding alone. I mean, I think we both agree that it's very, very possible for them to expand and bringing at least one race maybe to Canada in the Cup Series and maybe even down in Mexico. I know there was a rumor from Adam Stern that they were looking at a Mexico City street course race. So I think it's very possible that NASCAR as well in the coming years here could expand to both Canada and Mexico and have one race per country there on the schedule.
Yeah, I think it would be cool for them to start doing their international races again, whether that be just Canada or Mexico. Or, I mean, since the All Star race is technically shuffling around from Charlotte now, maybe they could make the All Star race be an international race, like the Mexico Street Course, or some kind of international race on a street course, or maybe even an oval. If a country has an oval that's ready for NASCAR to come to for the Cup Series, so they don't even have to look at moving a points race to a different country or a different track they've never gone to before. They can take the All-Star race there, and I think that would be a great way to showcase the track, see what the cars can do there, and then if it winds up being a good thing and a thing that the teams can do in the future, then maybe they can go back there for an actual points race.
And I think we've learned over the years the best place for NASCAR to experiment is with that All Star race weekend. So I would 100% be down for that. Now, as they're coming up on the final 3 laps here in this second stage from Sonoma Raceway, Kyle Larson continuing to lead the way, looking like a typical Kyle Larson race here. But I'm telling you, if he loses the race on the pit lane, I guarantee he will not be able to get that lead back, despite how important this track position here is today. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do in that third and final stage, depending on how he does on the pit lane. But I mean, now, I mean, Jay, we look at the playoffs even coming up. I mean, Larson, I think, is definitely one of our favorites right now. But I mean, who do we consider? Do you consider Eric Almirola to be a legitimate playoff contender? He's leading the overall standings. He's gotten 2 wins. He's lucked into both of those wins, but he still leads the overall standings coming into this week. Might not after because of his early DNF, but I mean, right now, other than Kyle Larson, who do you have that's a legitimate title favorite here so far?
Uh, I at the moment really only think Kyle Larson. There's several others who have been competitive this season. We've seen Harvick be really competitive, and then he had that massive fall off there for several weeks where he wasn't really competitive at all. We've seen Hamlin be competitive. Obviously, we know that he's ran good this season, not like he has in real life, but still been very consistent. We've seen some good races out of Ryan Blaney, but we haven't seen the constant, absolute consistency like we have with Kyle Larson week in and week out. Larson is leading races, leading laps. He's winning stages. I think he's won a stage in almost every single race of the season. At least one stage. So at this point, I think Larson has to be the immediate favorite.
And now the final lap underway for stage 2. He's already got 1 playoff point on today, about to get his second one and potentially 3 more if he hangs on for the race victory in another 30 or so laps here from Sonoma. So Larson so far destroying the field, pulling out a gap more than he had in stage one, now almost 3 seconds ahead of second place of Joey Logano. Kurt Busch there in P4, Keselowski in P3. Keselowski having a good day when he's only 5 points above the cut line coming into this one, and he's doing everything he needs to be doing to increase that gap. And Jay, right now, I mean, to Benedetto, the two guys he's trying to chase down on that bubble, Suarez and Keselowski, both of them in stage points right now as the Benedetto's on the outside looking in. So not what the day he needs to be having so far here in Sonoma.
Yeah, the positive for De Benedetto is at least Suarez didn't get stage points in stage one, and he's only going to get 3 here in stage two. And I believe that he's not that far behind. I know he's at least inside the top 15, so he can make up some ground and potentially get in front of Suarez. But yeah, I think he's going to still lead this race looking into the playoffs. But you know, anything can happen. I mean, with such a small points gap, anything can really happen, and we've seen how stuff can turn around so quickly. So I would not call De Benedetto out of the playoffs just yet.
So stage two comes to a close. We are immediately going to go to a quick break here from Sonoma as Kyle Larson wins the stage, goes all the way through to Kevin Harvick, who rounds out the top 10 for that final stage point as Blaney just misses out on that point. So we're going to go to a quick break, come back here and bring you guys to the pit stops here in between stage 2 and 3 from Sonoma Raceway. Back from Sonoma Raceway here at the end of stage 2. Kyle Larson has won both stages so far, and now he leads the race into the pit lane. 4 tires, 2 cans of fuel, we know is what is going to happen. Now, Jay, could we see potentially a guy like Cole Custer or Chastain stay out here as they did pit onto that last caution?
I doubt it. They pitted way too early in the stage
Oh,
to make anything happen here in stage 3. As it looks like Suarez did stay out. I'm hoping that was a mistake, because even though they cannot make it to the end of this race, he's going to be at a huge disadvantage on tires, and he does not need to lose points. I don't think this is a smart call.
that is exactly what a guy like De Benedetto needs. That is a terrible call. Now, he could be banking on the fact that it is really hard to pass, and maybe what they think is they can get to a point where they can pit and make it to the end of this race. And then at that point, it actually might not be a bad call. We, of course, don't know what the strategy is, but we saw the guys who pitted after everybody, Chastain and Custer. Well, they still came into the pit lane here, and it looks like already, I think Kyle Larson might win this race off of the pit lane. Yes, he does. It's going to be Keselowski beating Logano out, and even Kurt Busch as Logano got into the back of the one car, but Elliott still cannot make up any ground right there. So very rough for him. But Daniel Suarez in front. I mean, uh, baffling call. I think we can agree on there, Jay. But I mean, like I said, I think the only thing that they could be trying to do is they're just confident they can make it to a point where they can pit under green and make it to the finish of the race.
I think he also could be certainly banking on cautions happening here again. Once, you know, we know how crazy these restarts can be, so he might be banking on that as well. There's a lot of factors here that can help Suarez, but I think everything is going to have to go right here for this strategy to work. If they go green for even a lap, I think the Suarez is going to wind up losing a good amount of spots here. Obviously, track position is key here, and it is hard to pass, but he's just at such a huge disadvantage with tires. I don't think track position is going to matter that much here. I think he's going to get absolutely blown away. So if they don't get a caution right away here off the restart, I think Suarez, that puts his chances immediately gone.
Some damage on the front of the 2 car. Keselowski, he got into the back of Larson there under the caution just a couple seconds ago. But yeah, I mean, Suarez, I mean, if this doesn't work out, he was already running in the top 10. He could be throwing away a potential 25, 30 points that he would have gotten if he had played it safe and pitted there. So a lot on the line when you're only 6 points to the good coming into this race. Now, as he picked up, I believe it was 3 stage points right there over De Benedetto, who has gotten none. So that should put Suarez about 9 points, I believe, to the good coming into this third and final stage. So it's overall a interesting call from this Trackhouse Racing team, and it's going to be interesting to see what they can do here. I mean, Jay, I'm sure the goal here is for them to fight as hard as they can. I don't think they're going to be moving aside. I think their goal is to try and win this race with this strategy.
Yeah, I think they're also hoping and praying for cautions. That's really the only thing I think that's going to save them at this point. And if there's no cautions, well, I mean, it was a gamble that I don't think they should have gone with, and I can't see the logic in trying this. If there's somebody like Truex, why not try it? But when you're only 6 points, or well, yeah, 6 points going above the cut line going into the race, and you've only scored 3 stage points, I just can't see this being a smart strategy move at all.
And we got guys coming out of the pit lane currently, by the way. So this could also bring an interesting element to the start. And those were the guys that we saw on the pit lane earlier and off the pace. So I don't know exactly what's going on here, but actually, this could be a bit of an issue because they're running them down. They should be out by the time they get there, but that's still going to be traffic that they have to deal with nonetheless. But Daniel Suarez leads the way back to the green flag, and this third and final stage is underway. Is it going to get crazy? We're about to find out now. Some side-by-side action already as we go up the hill. Suarez gets off to a really good launch here now. So far, looks actually pretty clean now as we come through the first few corners. Yes, they get away clean, so great job by these AI cars now, as this is going to be the group to watch out for now. So I don't think anyone expected that element coming into the mix, but that could be an issue. And lap traffic was probably the last thing I expected here, especially at the beginning of the stage. But they keep it clean for the most part now, as William Byron running up inside the top 10, having a strong run. But Jay, I mean, we see Chase Elliott. He's been doing nothing but falling down the order here today in Sonoma, and now is under attack from Hamlin to lose 8th.
He hasn't been a factor at all, which is kind of surprising to me. Man, they got close there. I think there might have been a tiny bit of contact between those two, but certainly not enough to put some damage on either car. But yeah, he hasn't been a factor all day, and that's kind of surprising to me. I don't think he's really been that much of a factor at all so far on the road courses of the season. I for some reason cannot remember.
Coda, he was good. Yeah.
Yeah, but we think back to the Daytona road course, he wasn't a factor there either. So it's just, oh man, these guys back here are awfully racy. And at the moment, I'm still surprised, honestly, that Suarez kept the lead for this entire first lap and pulled a little bit of a gap on Kyle Larson.
And it looks like Kozlowski might be off the pace. He does have that front end damage there, but you can definitely tell Larson has the speed to run down the 99, but is he going to be able to pass the 99 is the question. But you know who everybody's running down? Well, they're running down the 41, the 51. Maybe not the 42. He's pulling a bit of a gap now. They're definitely running him down. So, I mean, Jay, we're seeing how hard it is to pass once they kind of start getting a little bit more organized after a lap or two. So, how are these guys going to be able to manage this lap traffic that I don't think any of us expected to be even an issue?
The only good thing for them is these lap cars are off the pace, so it should be easier to pass them than if they're trying to pass the guy for second or third place. But I think there's still going to be an issue, and definitely hold Suarez up and allow Kyle Larson to catch him. I think they're just going to have to get lucky and maybe try and catch them as they're going into a corner and just dive bomb the lap car a bit and get around them that way. But there's not many spots like that on this track, so I'm not too sure what the strategy is going up to these lap cars here for a guy like Daniel Suarez.
And they should be there within another lap or so. So it was 8/10 of a second last time by. Larson pretty much cuts that gap in half to Daniel Suarez. Now just under a half a second here. So we've already mentioned multiple times how hard it is to pass. So we're going to see what Larson is capable of doing there. A little bit of a wider line right there out of the right-hander. So Larson closing that gap very quick, just as quick as Suarez is closing the gap to the back of the 41 of Cole Custer. So Jay, I mean, we were talking about maybe that 99 team wanting a caution. Looks like that's not going to happen. So I think now all they have to do is run it as long as they can. But I'm thinking that they probably got to come into the pit lane before lap 45 or so, and then these guys can go, of course. Honestly, Suarez, I don't even know if he can make it to lap 40.
I think that they should be able to make it that far. I think they can do at least 20 laps on a fuel run here. So I think that's the only positive at the moment for Suarez is that if he can go that far, obviously he'll be able to make it to the end. Actually, never mind. I forget that they've already done 20 laps. Actually, 20 laps right now. So he could be just a bit short on this strategy. Actually, I still am just kind of baffled by this call. Even if he doesn't lose track position here, making it on one stop seems like a bit of a stretch.
Well, now that I'm thinking about it, so if Suarez has done about 20 laps, right? So
yeah,
what if he goes 5 more laps, that's 25 laps, that means that these guys here, like Kyle Larson, they might be able to make it to the end, which doesn't seem legitimate because they can't do 30 laps on fuel in real life now. So I don't know if these guys actually, they might have a chance with Kyle Larson. Actually, as Larson, oh, there we go. He's going to make a move for the lead potentially here. But these guys are right in front of him. I don't know what's going to happen. But still, at the end of the day, Jay, all of a sudden, I think there's a slim chance here that Larson and them can make it on fuel.
Very, very slim. If Suarez feels that he's able to make it from the start of stage 2 to some point in this stage to where he can get on pit road and make it to the end of the race, then maybe these guys feel like pitting at the start of stage 3, they can make it to the end of the race. I don't think that you can go there. There is so Suarez is going to pit road. He made it 25 laps or 20 laps or so, and
21, maybe 22 at the most.
Probably, I call it 20 laps considering they had to run one caution lap under this, actually 2, so maybe 19 laps, considering he ran at least 2 caution laps on that run there. But either way, I don't think Suarez is going to be able to make it to the end from here, which is, again, questions that call that's just I still can't understand it. He basically just threw away his good finish.
We'll have to wait and see what happens there, but nonetheless interesting, and it is 4 tires and feel clearly there for that 99 Trackhouse team. So we know it's going to be close for him, but as of right now, based off what he just did, he should not make it to the end. He's probably going to have to pit with another 3, maybe 4 laps to go. But if he somehow stretches it, I mean, at the end of the day, Jay, we know Kyle Larson is just downright faster than that 99 of Suarez, but what Suarez might have is these guys right here holding up Kyle Larson. So it might, I mean, if Suarez can make it and these guys have to pit, it might not be the end of the day for him, and he might actually be able to slip through and somehow steal this victory.
Thing is if they have to pit, it's highly possible that they only have to pit for just fuel.
That is another good point.
They pitted and got their fresh tires under caution and didn't lose the time that way. Suarez pitted for 4 tires and fuel and lost all that time under green flag conditions. So if these guys only have to pit for fuel, then Suarez is going to lose a lot of spots that way too. So I still just, I don't think that was the right call. No matter what, I think these guys will be able to make it to the end on tires, so I don't think they're going to have to pit for tires. So, you know, even with the lap or 2 fresher tires, it's not going to make that much of a difference for Suarez. So I still just, I think that call was not the right call to make at all, and it's going to wind up costing him his good finish, and it's going to put him outside of the playoffs.
Truex able to get past the 24 Byron right there. I saw Byron up on that curb sliding, but you can tell that these guys are holding up Larson. But still, Larson, you know, looking good right now. I mean, at this point in the race, we're in the third and final stage, and the question arises, what is it going to be this week that takes this win away from Kyle Larson? As of right now, it looks like it could be lap traffic that takes this win away from that 5 car. Could it be strategy? Who knows? We're going to have to find out now as Larson is right in behind that 41. Going to make a move there into that final hairpin. I believe it's turn 11 that is there as Larson is sure enough going to make that pass on Cole Custer. But we definitely at this point wondering what's going to go wrong for that team now, as it looks like the 24 Byron kind of falling off here. It looks like he's been under pressure. He just got passed by the 19, now under pressure from Hamlin. As he kind of falls off a little bit now from the back of that 24. But Elliott running up here in P8. All Hendrick cars other than Bowman inside the top 10. And Bowman currently running there in P12. So just 2 spots shy of that top 10 position. Now, as before we go to a break here, as things have calmed down, we're actually going to give you guys this week's AMP segment. We keep continuously forgetting to do this, but we did it last week, and we have remembered once again this week. So let's real quick go into AMP here. From Sonoma Raceway's Kyle Larson leads the way over second place of Brad Keselowski. And there you have amped from Sonoma Raceway, Kyle Larson, definitely struggling to get past that 51 of Cody Ware, but he's still holding off Keselowski, who is struggling to even get to the 41. What we are going to do here from Sonoma is go to a quick break, come back in about 3-4 laps time, maybe 5 laps, and hopefully, I'm sure at that point Kyle Larson will have gotten past this 51 of Cody Ware, but Cody Ware currently doing a very good job defending over him. So we'll be right back here from a quick break from Sonoma Raceway. Back from Sonoma, Larson just now finally on lap 44 side by side with the 51 of Cody Ware, who has the advantage here going into the corner, nearly making contact. Thank goodness that did not lead into anything. Kyle Larson just now finally getting clear of that lap traffic now, as we were watching the whole time on that little battle, and Larson and the 51 of Ware were almost coming together in the same spot each lap that we just saw that pass finally get completed. But Larson right here, the lap times, we've been watching his lap times compared to Daniel Suarez. Larson being stuck, he was setting about 117s. Right there, he hit a 117.5, and Daniel Suarez was in about the 116s. He actually just recently set the fourth fastest lap. As he comes through across the line now, he's actually stuck behind his own traffic. So he only manages to run a 117 flat. So about half a second right there, as we got Ryan Newman on the pit lane now. As the pit cycle might be starting to get underway. We know at this point, of course, they can make it to the end. But now, Jay Larson's gotten through the obstacle that he was faced up against. So, I think the only thing that could really keep him from winning at this point is just maybe some type of issue on the pit lane when he, of course, does decide to come in.
He's going to pull a huge gap here on second place, Brad Keselowski. Keselowski's been struggling to even keep up with Custer. So Larson's going to be able to get a massive advantage here. And so
Wow.
they might be able to afford a slow pit stop if they pit here and have to take 4 tires. The only thing that, for Suarez, the only thing that can save him at this point is A, getting around Alfredo as fast as possible, and B, he just has to hope that the time Kyle Larson lost while sitting behind Cody Ware was enough for Suarez to make up some time here if Larson does have to take 4 tires, or Suarez will become the leader again.
And Larson just set a 116.4 on the lap that he was finally in clean air. So Suarez is going to come through to cross the line and probably run in the 117s. And sure enough, a 117.4. So that's a whole second Larson just made up on that lap against Daniel Suarez there. So Suarez needs to find a way very quick around that traffic now. Larson's in the perfect spot right now. Keselowski can't even get to the 41 here. So there, at this point, with 15 laps to go, it looks like there is absolutely no way Kyle Larson loses this race now. As of course, pit stops will be coming up here, I'm sure, very soon for these front runners like Kyle Larson, Keselowski, Kurt Busch, and whatnot. Now, Jay, is there any strategy maybe second or third place could play here to try and maybe overtake Kyle Larson under this pit cycle, or is it just this very straightforward, just fuel only type pit stop?
The only thing I can think of is trying fuel only and hoping that Larson goes with 4 tires. I think if you're going to do that, though, you're going to have to wait for him to pit first, take 4 tires, and then you pit and do fuel only. Because if you pit first and he sees you do fuel only, then his crew chief's going to obviously make the call for fuel only as well. So I think that's really the only strategy that can play out here, is just sit behind and wait for him to pit, and then you make your pit stop. But if everybody feels like they have to get tires to go to the end, then obviously I don't think there's going to be any strategy there. But it all comes down to what these crew chiefs feel like they can do to get to the end of this race.
Half a second difference between Kyle Larson and Suarez on that last lap there, but it's still in favor of Kyle Larson. So Suarez, he's got to make that move as quick as he can if he wants any chance for anything to go his way. Larson is running down the car he used to drive, the 42 there, with Ross Chastain piloting that Camaro now. But now Larson 3.5 seconds up, and Keselowski can't even get to the 41. You do see that front end damage on the back, or on the front of that 2 car, because I'm sure that's got to do with the lack of speed as well now as he gets to the back of the 41 there. That's the closest he's really been so far. But nonetheless, everything working out for Kyle Larson right now as he looks for his second win on the season to match the total he has in real life, of course. But now almost 5 seconds up. He is gaining a ton of time here in this third and final stage. But there's always a possibility that maybe just one shift goes wrong and that engine goes on the 5 car of Kyle Larson. So anything can still happen here with 13 laps to go. But Jay, I think so far this possibly has been the calmest race we've had all season long so far.
And this has been Larson's most dominant performance, I think, of the season as well. I think he's led every single lap so far. And at this point, I don't see anything changing. Actually, no, never mind. I forgot Suarez did lead a couple of laps. But either way, Larson has led almost this entire race. And at this point, I don't see anything changing that. And I don't think Suarez's strategy is going to play out. I think Larson's going to be able to easily cruise to the victory here. And yeah, I do agree. This has been probably the most tame race we've had of this season so far. And unfortunately, there hasn't really been much passing to go along with that either.
And there you see Larson continuing to lead the way. So it was 4.99 seconds between him and second place of Keselowski last time by. I'm sure it's about to grow even larger right here. Larson already across the line, heading off into turns one. Here comes second place of Keselowski. Right now goes from 4.9 seconds to 6.0. So Larson is driving away very quick. Those lap cars helping him a ton here. So it's going to be interesting to see if there's anything that can really stop this Hendrick Motorsports 5 team now as he continues to dominate from the third road course race of the season. And still quite a few road courses to go, of course, now. As you see Ross Chastain, the Talladega Superspeedway winner, having a bit of a rough time here from Sonoma. Now, as Jay, I mean, other than the win at Talladega, I think Chastain really hasn't done a whole lot right now. I mean, he's honestly, I think, the one potential driver that could end up, if he keeps running like this, at least, he could be that one potential guy that has a win but ends up outside of the top 30 in points, which would actually bring Matt DiBenedetto at right now right back into the playoffs. So there's still that possibility there.
Yeah, his performance so far this season has been, for lack of a better term, abysmal. He has ran very bad compared to what you expect that team, and especially compared to his teammate. So he has not had a great season in that 42. And aside from that one win, that's really the only thing that has been positive for him. However, you mentioning him having the possibility of falling out of the top 30, I don't think that's possible at this point. I believe the top 30 is at least 60 points behind him at the moment. I don't know if he's going to lose that many points to the guys that are 30th and below in points. So I think he is pretty much locked into the playoffs, but I would at the moment say he's definitely going to be a first round exit.
Always a possibility. You never know. But I also think this leads into our argument of how both of us, I know we agree that wins in the regular season should not lock you into the playoffs. And I think Chastain and Cole Custer are a great example of that because they are taking up those first two guys that are on the outside looking in now of Matt DiBenedetto and Kyle Busch even. So it's kind of almost unfair that those guys get to be in the playoffs instead.
Yeah, I haven't been a fan of the win and you're in really ever since it got implemented at all. I've never really liked it. I don't think it should be a thing. Maybe 2 wins and you're in, so that way you make getting multiple wins super important, not just one fluke win, and really showing that you have that performance to get 2 wins at least. I think that should be what locks you in. I think that they certainly need to do away with winning you're in, and then I also think they need to do away with the 5 playoff points you get for winning a race as well. I think it needs to be a maximum of 3, and then you can get 5 points in total if you win the race, and then you win both stages at the same time. So I think that's what NASCAR needs to consider doing with the points. I don't know if we'll see the win and you're in go away, just because it may be a thing that teams want, and NASCAR may not be able to take it away without upsetting the teams, upsetting the sponsors. But I certainly think it needs to be considered to go away. And to go back to Chastain for a second, I looked at the points. He is 96 points above 30th place at the moment, and 30th place is Quint Hoff. So the
Well,
only person that's below him right now that could knock him out is Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who's in 31st in points. Maybe Corey LaJoy, but really the rest of the entire field below that has no chance of getting to him and putting him outside the top 30. So I would say Chastain is locked in at the moment.
And of course, looking at what's upcoming, the championship decided at Phoenix Raceway, and we just saw the news just a few days ago that Phoenix and NASCAR have announced that they will be going to Phoenix again for the championship race next year in 2022. Now, Jay, I mean, what do you make of that now? I mean, obviously last year was the first time we had it, didn't produce the greatest racing, produced, honestly, a pretty boring championship race. And it's almost kind of baffling that NASCAR decided to do it once again and then say already that we're going to do it next year.
Yeah, I don't like the decision for that. I don't think championship or Phoenix, sorry, is a good championship race. It also just it felt weird. It had a weird atmosphere to it when Chase Elliott was celebrating in the middle of the day last year. Just something about it didn't feel right. You should see a champion celebrating at night. So I think that NASCAR needs to reconsider coming back to the East Coast, or if they're going to run the race out there, at least to make it start in the late afternoon time for the West Coast and end around 10 Eastern or so, 9 or 10 Eastern. So that way it's getting nighttime over there. It felt weird with the atmosphere of Chase Elliott winning in the daytime like that. And then I still think that I've had the opinion for a couple of years that NASCAR should maybe think about rotating the championship race. I know, again, that comes down to a money thing and teams committing to the race and all that kind of stuff. So probably not going to happen. But I would like to see the race get switched around to different tracks every year just to keep it fresh and to keep, one driver from having an advantage every single year if we, go to the same track over and over and over again. But at the very least, they need to move it back to Homestead. That race was perfect for it. It ended in the nighttime. It was in Miami, so the weather was perfect for the fans. And it was just there was nothing wrong with the racing there. I genuinely think NASCAR needs to go back to Homestead.
I absolutely agree. What a commanding pass right there from Larson, by the way, on Chastain. Very bold. But I remember a few years back, NBC, I think it was them, mentioning the fact that they were down for the whole let's rotate the championship race. And that's something I would like to see. Now, I mean, Jay, what if we can only, of course, have one? You mentioned Homestead, Miami. Do you think that it should be a mile and a half always to decide the championship at all?
I do agree. Yeah, I think it should be a mile and a half as what they decided on because that's the obviously bread and butter of the sport. That's where these guys go to the most, and it's where these guys show off their talents the best at. At a short track, you can just full send the corner and dump a guy and win a championship. While that would be a somewhat cool way to see it happen, where guys are beating and banging and somebody turns each other on the final lap. That'd be kind of a cool way, and it would certainly spark some drama and some controversy, and obviously get eyes on the sport. I don't think that would be the best way to have a championship race go down. Mile and a halves are where these teams show off their speed the best. They show off what they know the best, and it's where these drivers get the most out of their talent. So I think that we do need to keep it to a mile and a half. And honestly, aside from Homestead, I'm trying to think of another track. Like even if they did the rotation thing, I don't know of many tracks I'd be happy with NASCAR going to for the championship race. I think Homestead just overall was the absolute best situation for it. It created great racing always. We never really had to complain about a Homestead race because it was always a good race, and just everything was perfect to have it in Miami. And I don't really get the decision to move the race, and just I still don't like it. And it's one of the things that I will voice my opinion the most heavily about.
There you see some guys getting past Cody Ware now. By the way, only 7 laps to go. By the way, coming to six, and I mean these guys are getting closer and closer, of course, to being able to end up making it to the end here. So that would be, of course, like we said, a big surprise if they could. But it's looking more possible as we continue on. As Truex, by the way, having honestly the best race he has had all season long here from Sonoma now as he runs up in P5 trying to put the pressure on Logano for that fourth position, but now clearly realizing how close it is going to be here with 6 laps to go on field. We saw Newman pit. We saw Suarez not be able to go as far as there was left in the what am I trying to say here? We know we shouldn't be able to get to the end based off of what Suarez did, assuming he went as far as he could. So coming to 5 to go, I mean, Jay, I'm sure there's got to be one driver in this field that has potentially been saving field. So if these guys can't make it to the end, someone could come out of nowhere and win this race instead of Kyle Larson.
I think the max these guys can go is 25 laps. That's when we saw Suarez pit, was when there was 25 to go. I think that's what the crew chiefs are looking at right here. So I think we could probably see these guys pit probably this time around, or if not next time around. And if it is 25 as far as they can go, there's no way these guys can save 5 laps around this road course. So I don't think we're going to see anybody be able to save to get to the finish. I think we should be looking for them to pit right about now, honestly.
So we'll have to wait and see if Kyle Larson potentially brings it in right here. He does not. So coming to 5 to go, he continues to lead the way. Of course, right now, everything looking not good for Daniel Suarez in that 99 Trackhouse car. Is anybody coming into the pit lane? Does not appear so. So it's going to get interesting here. Of course, already at the point now where just a couple more laps and a caution would put this race to a close. So I mean, that would, I mean, create a whole new element. I mean, if we have maybe a caution on lap 57 or 58. Oh, that just about turned into something right there between Elliott and the 51. But as I was stating, if we have like a caution on 57, maybe 58, 58 for sure would probably end the race. But I mean, the AI usually, I mean, if they still think that they can't make it to the end, you might see a guy like Kyle Larson pit or another guy stay out. So that would bring in a whole new element, even if that caution does come out. So it wouldn't be quite over yet. Suarez still, by the way, stuck behind the 38. He just ran a 1:18.2. Kyle Larson ran a 1:17.6. So Suarez really hoping, I'm sure, that some guys are going to come into the pit lane here because we're going to keep an eye on Kyle Larson and see what he does now. Is he going to pit this time by coming up on 4 laps to go? No, he is not. He is going to remain on track. I don't know, Jay. There might be a chance, I think, that they might stretch it.
If they can make it all the way to the end, then you have to really question the strategy for Daniel Suarez there. I, if these guys can make it, I don't understand that call at all. Then that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And there was no chance of strategy happening, so they just threw the race away on their own and decided to do that for no apparent reason. I don't really get it. But I mean, maybe these guys were able to save a lap or two running around, and they still have to pit before the end of this race. I genuinely don't know how far they can make it. One would think though they can't do 30 laps, so I don't know. At this point, I have to think that these guys somehow saved a couple laps of fuel, because 30 laps sounds a little bit too long.
Yeah, I mean, we are on times one, but even for that, it still seems like a very, very lengthy run for these guys to tackle. So, I mean, coming to just 3 laps to go, what is going to end Kyle Larson's chances of winning? He's 14 and a half seconds ahead. I don't think there's anything that can really stop him. He stays out again. It'll be 3 laps to go this time by. So, I mean, everything is looking to be in his favor at this point now, as Suarez still stuck behind Alfredo. And I mean, Suarez, he was running in the top 10 at the end of stage 2 before he stayed out. And currently, as it stands, he is going to finish 34th place. That is a horrendous finish, of course, compared to what he was on track for. So very unfortunate for him. There now is William Byron trying to maybe put the fight back to Denny Hamlin here down the front straightaway. Is he going to have a lick up the inside? No, he is not quite close enough there. But Jay, I mean, we saw William Byron win the last time out at a road course. I mean, having a career season not only in here, but in real life as well. We've seen a lot of strength for him, and now he's obviously locked in the playoffs. I think we could honestly see this guy go quite far in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I think he's one that I look at to make it potentially to the round of 4, or the championship 4. At the very least, I think he's going to make it to the round of 8. He's been super strong this season in real life and in NR. I mean, at this point, at least in the NR season, I expect all 3 Hendrick guys to make it very deep into the playoffs. Bowman at this point doesn't even seem like he's going to make the playoffs, unfortunately. But the 3 that are in the playoffs right now, I expect them to go pretty far. And certainly, like I said earlier, I think Larson is currently the championship favorite.
And Larson, by the way, stays out again. 2 laps to go for that 5 team. So at this point, I mean, even if someone does come in the pit lane, 100% someone is going to be able to make it to the end, just stretching it. So I think both of us are baffled by this now, as I thought there's no way these guys are going to make it, but here we are. Now as Harvick is a bit under attack from the 17 of Chris Buescher as he is stuck behind that 51. There is Chastain on the pit lane. So I don't know what that is going to equate to. We're coming to the final lap this time by, so we're going to have to wait and see. Maybe if Larson comes into the pit lane coming to the white flag, what a throw that would be if he comes in and some guys stay out now. As you see Byron still holding off that 9 of Chase Elliott. But this is the moment of truth. Coming through the S's, Kyle Larson is way ahead, 16 and a half, just about seconds ahead of the pack. So here he is. What do you think, Jay? Do you think he comes in or stays out?
He's got a huge lead, so honestly, and he's got himself locked into the playoffs too. I don't see, if they don't feel like they can make it, I stay out anyways to see what you can go, see how far you can make it on the lap.
Stays out.
Maybe he can coast his way around. So here we go. He's staying out. Let's see if anybody behind's him pit.
So yeah, I mean, coming to the white flag. here in Sonoma. I'm very surprised they made it this far. We'll keep that in mind for next time, of course. Now, as we didn't anticipate that, it looks like every single car actually is going to stay out here in the final lap from Sonoma Raceway. So at this point, with one lap to go, what can go wrong for Kyle Larson? Anything going to happen here? Maybe an engine expire any moment now? Is something always goes wrong for this five team, and I'm just waiting. There's still a good minute or so for something to happen here for Larson. But I mean, Jay, what a statement from this five team today. Pretty much, I mean, other than Daniel Suarez being out front, they've led every other lap since then.
Yeah, I think that it probably would have been closer had it not been for those lap cars. I say probably. It definitely would have been closer. We never saw Larson get up to this big of a lead. I don't know if anybody would have been able to challenge him, though. He just had such great speed all day long. He's ran the fastest lap of the race. I think he's got a fastest lap by quite a good margin as well. Yeah,
Half
he's
a
got
tenth.
yeah, half a tenth on Brad Keselowski, who's in second place right now. So I think that Larson was just genuinely the class of the field today. Obviously, he got helped up by a lap car, but I don't think he gets past either way. So here he comes to take his third win of the season.
Second.
Second, sorry.
Larson, yeah, there he goes. Wins here in Sonoma Raceway in dominating fashion. Probably the most boring race of the season for us here is Keselowski, Kurt Busch, Martin Truex Jr. Logano fell down the order a little bit here in the final few laps, so but Truex going to get a strong finish of fourth place. Hamlin fifth. Any side-by-side action going on here in the final moments now. The 8 and the 33, they're going to go at it here at the midfield for 15th and 16th, but it's going to be Cindric getting that. And then here comes the rest of the pack. Now McDowell at the back. Daniel Suarez still stuck behind Anthony Alfredo, has one last chance to make a move here into that final hairpin, not going to take the opportunity, and now he is going to, instead of being in the top 10 comfortably, is going to have to settle for a 34th place finish here in Sonoma. A huge loss of points for that team now as Ryan Newman as well comes through the final turn. He's going to have to settle for 35th place, but your winner here today from Sonoma Raceway, Kyle Larson, gets his second win on the season, and he becomes now just the fourth driver to pick up multiple wins on the season, joining Eric Almirola, Denny Hamlin, as well as Kevin Harvick on that list. All different teams. Oh, actually, sorry, Almirola and Harvick on Stewart Haas Racing, but three different teams have picked up multiple victories here this season. But Jay already mentioned a dominating performance, but I think really the storyline there, maybe two storylines. Eric Almirola, of course, might have very well lost the regular season championship lead with his DNF, but Daniel Suarez and that Trackhouse team with probably one of the worst pit calls we have seen all season long.
Yeah, certainly. Obviously, a big storyline there of Kyle Larson, the way he dominated this race. Absolutely destroyed the entire field here. No chance that anybody else had was going to pass him. But yeah, huge story also with Suarez there. That team of their own doing, putting them back outside of the playoffs, and not just barely outside of it. They're going to be far outside the playoffs now. They were only 6 points above coming into the race, and he winds up finishing 34th and only getting a couple of stage points, while DeBenedetto finishes 12th. So he's going to be at least 20 points out of the playoffs, and that's just a major loss for that team when they fought so hard at the Coke 600 to get themselves back into the playoffs. They put themselves in a great spot, and of their own doing, for some reason, they decided to have this awful pit call, and it puts them way out of the playoffs.
And before we end it, looking at the playoff situation, of course, nothing changes with winners. Chris Buescher, the first guy in on points, 10th place finish for him. He still found a way to sneak into the top 10 before it came to a close. Elliott with a solid run there of P8. We expected him to be up front, maybe go for the win, but of course that helps him as well. Tyler Reddick, probably the first guy. He was down in P16. That was the first bit of a rough day for a guy in the playoffs. And then, of course, Suarez with a really rough race. But Keselowski, who came in 5 points to the good, has a runner-up finish here today. That's going to help him a lot. DeBenedetto, who came in out by 5, obviously lost points to Keselowski, but gained a ton on Suarez. So DeBenedetto will be back in the playoffs after this one. And unfortunately, Jay, for guys like Kyle Busch, Alex Bowman, and whatnot, they, of course, I mean, still lost ground to the guys that they're trying to beat. So very unfortunate days for them. The only guy that gained anything was Martin Truex Jr., who had a very strong fourth place finish here today.
Yeah, and Kyle Busch and Christopher Bell, they both or Bellman, sorry, they both did gain on one guy inside the playoffs, but unfortunately, that guy they gained on, uh, Suarez, is going to be outside the playoffs now with them. So they luckily were able to salvage almost a top 10, but they both didn't get stage points and they both didn't get the result they were looking for. So unfortunately for them, they are going to be farther out of the playoffs than they were going into this race. Truex will have made up some decent ground, but Kyle Busch is kind of right back where he started going into last week in the 600.
So they are going to be in need of some really good runs here now, well past the halfway point in the regular season. Next week, we do not have a points race. We're going to have some fun at the Texas Motor Speedway All-Star Race. We mentioned that already. Looking forward to that, where we will be having the Open or the Showdown, whatever it's called, and then, of course, the actual All-Star Race. So very excited for that one. And then the actual next points race is in 2 weeks' time at Nashville Super Speedway. Very excited for that one as well. Can't wait to see what kind of racing that produces. As always, if you guys enjoyed, you know what to do, as it is currently June the 4th, and it is exactly 1 month time until we go road course racing once again at Road America on the July 4th weekend next month. So excited for that. But like I said, next week, Texas Motor Speedway All-Star Race Weekend. Very excited to bring that to you guys. If you enjoyed, you know what to do. And myself and JayCook would, of course, like to thank you all for taking the time of your day to watch this episode and other races on the channel. And we will see you guys next week from Texas Motor Speedway for the All-Star Race Weekend. Have a great day, everybody.